What's up, everybody? My name is Steven. I'm about an intermediate level musician. I'm going to do a quick review of several teenage engineering products. This is kind of off the cuff and not scripted. I'll give my honest review, and hopefully it's helped somebody out there. I was inspired because the OP-XY has dropped, and everybody and their mom is on YouTube doing reviews of this product. For background, I'm an amateur musician. I took music lessons, piano lessons back when I was like 9 or 10 years old and studied music for a year in college. Again, mostly piano. I am by career and training, I'm a physician, double board certified anesthesia and critical care medicine physician. So my music career took a huge side task right in the middle. And I had to put down piano for a while. I was in medical school and residency and fellowship. A lot of time away from my instruments. And fortunately, kind of in 2020, I finished training. I was practicing and I had a lot more time on my hands. I was able to get back into music. That's when I first found kind of the teenage engineering brand and got involved there. It was great. I have a full-size Nord keyboard that I still use. Obviously, I can't take that with me. So I was looking for some portable instruments or things I could still mess around with, do some production work, mostly using Logic Pro. And a very amateur musician, especially back in 2020 when I first started getting back into music, learning how to produce, how to mix, master, and record, if I can call it that. So that's how I discovered Teenage Engineering and his channel. I was like, okay, it's really cool. I would love to kind of figure this out. So my first Teenage Engineering device was the OP-1. I purchased it back in, I think, 2020. And honestly, it was so overwhelming because there were so many bells and whistles and buttons and the radio, and there's so much to take in. I know I kind of bought it and then had it on the shelf for several months. And I think it was through seeing Cuckoo and others' videos that I finally got the courage to pull it out and start playing with it. Especially for people that are new out there, I didn't even realize that that was a keyboard. Like the buttons, if you know it, is talking about like, it looks very different from, if you're used to pianos like I am, it's very different. So I didn't even know. It took me like 2 or 3 weeks of staring at it. Oh, shoot, this is actually a keyboard. That's how slow my start was, right? So don't feel bad if you feel overwhelmed. I don't have an instrument anymore. I was actually I sold it at a very cheap cost. I ran into a kid at a coffee shop and he was making coffee. This is probably a year ago. And I'd upgraded to the OP-1field. And he recognized the instrument. I think I had my Mini Moog t-shirt on. And he knew that that's what a synthesizer was. We started talking about synthesizers, and he said, he wanted an OP-1 so bad, but couldn't afford it. Already upgraded to the OP-1field. Was able to give him, he paid for it, but it was, very cheap. He's like a college kid. So he purchased that OP-1 or the OPG. So hopefully he's making some dope music with it wherever he is. So I don't have that with me anymore, but I have a bunch of the other teenage engineering devices that I've come to own over the years. Here to give my honest review. The biggest complaint about teenage engineering is that they're very cost prohibitive. If you've been on Reddit threads, they're expensive devices. They're kind of fanboyish. Like, it's hard to, if you're younger in college, it's tough. So I recognize my privilege. I'm a physician. I have some amount of disposable income. I'm pretty frugal. It's kind of the only thing I waste money on is music instruments, into watches, cars, fashion. So I'm not trying to flex. I'm not trying to brag, but I do want to share this video and these reviews as somebody that is not a content creator, that's not an actual musician. I'm somebody that likes to travel. That was a big deal with the OPZ. I could take on a plane, I could travel, because those are the times that I actually have time to record. So that's what pulled me into teenage engineering. So I'll jump into the different devices and how I use them and what I think of them, which ones I think you should probably get, especially for Stratford Cash. First up, OP-1. OG1, don't have it anymore. Great instrument. Loved it so much. I loved the color combination. The new OP-1field, the colors aren't nearly as cool as the OPG. I think that was a miss, in my opinion. But, if you can find OPG, it's a great place to start. They should probably be reasonably priced. Hopefully you can get one that's in good working order. So I highly recommend that. I guess I'll probably do an order of least useful to most useful. That being said, I'm not sponsored in any way by Teenage Engineering. So this is the Teenage Engineering KO2. This came out a couple months ago. It's December of 2024, maybe even a year ago. It's collecting dust. I don't use this anymore. This was an interesting concept, interesting device. It's got a, sampler pads. When they shipped, if you recall, if you're on the Reddit threads, this little knob here was coming off and breaking in a lot of people's devices. And I can't remember how much this was, but for fairly expensive instrument, the build just felt super cheap, poor quality to me. I played around with it a little bit. I made some songs. There's a 12 pad. I don't really know how to sample. I worked on learning how to sample. So it didn't really work for me. One of my problems is you just hear the rattle. I think probably with the other samplers, the K404, SP, whatever, those rubber pads probably feel a little better. I'd imagine a little denser. This just didn't do it for me. From a scale of 0 to 10, I'd honestly give it a 3. To me, it's really gimmicky. And then they came out with the other one, the medieval version. That's cool, I guess, if you were into that. But this was fun to have. Wouldn't recommend it. If you want to sample, I would recommend getting an actual sampler device or something. So that's one. You don't need this, in my opinion, especially depending on the type of music you make. Again, I'm mostly keyboard based. I'm a pianist by training, so that's my bias. I bought some of the cases. The cases are cool. This is the OP-1field case, the first one I came out with. This is nice because I have Shure headphones and they have a little D-ring that hooks on. So I always have a pair of headphones to travel with. So that's nice to have. They have it on this case as well. I see they upgraded between brands. So when the OP-1field came out, these weird strap things, I don't really why they're here, but they go over this little envelope. So it's a little tricky to get stuff in there. You still can do it, but it's a little tricky. And it's nice to see that with this case, they still have the weird strap things on the back. Maybe tell me use those, but they put the envelope on the other side, so they don't block anything getting into it. So that's cool. This is cool. I recommend the cases if you have the OPXY or the OP-1field or the OG. A good case is necessary. I do prefer the soft cases. They just feel a little better. And I always keep it in another bag so it protects the device. Out of 10, I say 9 out of 10. I don't remember how much this costs. So there may be there may be cheaper options out there, but I would say 9 out of 10. That'll protect your devices. It's an investment. It's worth it. Check that order. So this is the CM15. This is their microphone. Honestly, I barely ever use this. I do some podcasting on the side and I use this and it works out okay. This was cool in concept. I never got the stand. I wish I would have got the stand, but the stand is probably kind of prohibitively expensive, as most of their products are. I do some ambient music, some lo-fi, and sometimes I do voiceovers or describe kind of what I'm doing. Every Monday on my YouTube at Stephen Bradley MD, I do mindfulness Mondays, just some ambient music to kind of help you relax, chill, decompress, de-stress, and I'll use this if I'm doing a voiceover during that. So I have it plugged into my setup, and it's fun, it's cool, it matches the aesthetic. Probably 2 to 3 out of 10. I don't really think you need this. It's very expensive for a microphone. You don't need it, in my opinion. There's a lot of cheaper options. OPZ. So I would give this one a 5 or 6 out of 10, which is probably going to break some people's hearts. This is you either love this or hate it. There's a lot of people out there that absolutely love the OPZ. I just couldn't get into it. It was too much to remember. It's a sequencer. Price was great, $450 or something like that. But it does not have a screen. So you got to learn what all these different numbers or color combinations do and what it all means and the key combinations. It was just a lot for me to commit to memory because I used this infrequently. Also, I didn't love the sounds on this. I feel like for music that's made on the OPZ, you can always tell it was made on the OPZ. It just had a sound to it. It sounded, in my opinion, cheap and poor quality. Maybe I don't know how to edit the sounds and make really good music. That could be a big part of it. But I just never really fell in love with this. It was too complicated. I would take this on a plane sometimes, and the problem was having to pull out my phone, right? I had to use the screen because I just never got good enough to where I didn't need a screen. So having to use a screen to use this device, it just made it too clunky for me. I don't have any the extra modules or whatever. It was cool. It was a fun device. Mine has a little bend in it. I did forget it was in my pocket once, and I sat down and it kind of cracked. And, sometimes it acts a little funny, but that was kind of late in its life cycle for me. So I would give this like a 5 or 6 out of 10. It depends on kind of what your workflow is and how you're using it. If you're a sequencer person, you probably love it. And it's a great price point. It depends on how you make music, how you want to perform or whatever. It's a great price point. If you're just breaking into it, if you find one of these for cheap, it's a lot of fun. I'll save the 2 big time devices for last. This is the TX6 mixer. This is worth its weight in gold. I would give this a 10 out of 10. I was on the fence about when should I purchase a mixer for my home studio setup. And this came about. It's expensive. It was pricey. I don't remember how much it was, but it was expensive. But the things that it does, having the 6 tracks that you can record, being able to record straight into your iPhone from a USB-C, is just great for my set. Now I use some standalone synthesizers as well as my Teenage Engineering devices, and I can plug all of those into there. I plug the microphone in so I can talk while I'm recording. You can MIDI sync and clock stuff through this. You can add additional effects. You can take this with you on the go, obviously, and it's battery powered. 10 out of 10, highly recommend. This is incredible. I would recommend buying those freaking expensive Teenage Engineering cables, because the 16 millimeter plugs or whatever, because they'll fit better. A lot of your plug otherwise will be too thick and you're going to have some problems here. So the Teenage Engineering, they sell their cables. They're, a little on the pricey side. These are cool too. So I got a couple of those. I just bit the bullet and splurged and got those. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend this. For me, I don't know which one to talk about next between the OP-1field and the OP-XY. There we go. I'll talk about the field. Love this. This is my go-to. I love it even more than the OG one because, it incorporates it. The update has 6 tracks. One of the limitations of the OG is that you only have the 1 track to record on. You got to make everything the same tempo. It just gets complicated. But the OP-1field just fixed all that. It's just better in every way than the OG. Cost prohibitive. It's very expensive. I don't love the colors. I very much prefer the OP-1field colors, but this is great. You can, I usually travel plane, bang out a couple of tracks, make my ambient music, make some lo-fi, whatever. They have the arpeggiator. You can sequence some drums. You can do a lot with this device. I haven't even scratched the surface. I think on a scale of 0 to 100, probably figured out like 50 or 60% of the things you can do on the OP-1field. I've had this, I think I got it as soon as it came out, so a couple of years. But 10 out of 10 would recommend this, especially if you're a pianist or if you know a little bit about sequencing. I need this tactile sensation to create music. This is me all day. This is my Ace Boon Coon. Like I said, I bought the case. It's great. My workflow is recording something, traveling, and then I'll get home and bounce out all 4 tracks into Logic to finish it there. And I think you can get a really nice sound out of the OP-1field. The sounds are better for sure than the OG and the OPZ. So highly recommend this. Comes with all the bells and whistles, gyroscope thing that I've never figured out how to use. A lot of stuff. Highly recommend. And it's great build quality, great battery life. The USB-C, you can record or use it as MIDI. The MIDI Bluetooth works really well. It's like 50-50 for me. I think it's a problem with my hardware or software that sometimes there's a bit of a lag. It's nice to not have to connect cable to use the MIDI. And then finally, this is the one that everybody is reviewing now on social media. So the OP-field XY, I got this. I had it sitting in the box for like a week. It was just so overwhelming. These devices are fun, but don't get it twisted. They can be very overwhelming. If that's you, don't worry about it. I read the instruction manual first, a little miniature one that they send with the device. And I watched a bunch of YouTube videos. I watched Cuckoo's, I think he only had like a brief one. It was like 16 minutes overview. And then Chordmaster, Byron Allen, he had a good video. And then Egerton Music with one of the engineers from Team Engineering. It was like a deep dive. It was like an hour or 2 hours or something. Or maybe exaggerating. But they did a deep dive on the OPX. If you don't know, it's a sequencer. It has a lot of videos that are much better than whatever I'm attempting to do here and now. That I would recommend if you want to know how it works. But after being intimidated for a week, I jumped into it 2 days ago, and a lot of the functionality and the workflow from the OPZ, they copied over. And I love that. To me, this is so much better than this because it has a screen. So I can see a lot more. I'm a very visual person, so I can see what the heck I'm doing and use it that way. So, and again, I only just scratched the surface. I made one track. I made one kind of mindfulness piece. I'm still working on mixing and mastering. So the music's not all that great yet, but there's a lot of potential here with this device. Great build quality. Hopefully you don't have to worry about it bending. I'm not a fan of the color. Like these primary colors are just so cool and fun. Would have been cool if they kept that with this, but whatever. They made it all black. The sequencer-based workflow is so much easier compared to the OPZ. You can see what you're doing, and the sounds are way better. So 10 out of 10, I'm just getting to know this instrument already. 10 out of 10 would recommend this over the OPZ, especially if price is not an issue. I think it's worthwhile, even if you're there just to save up for this. I think this is really going to have so much more potential for you and really feed into your creative for making stuff. I do wish, or maybe haven't figured out yet, how to do multi-track outputs. That's the biggest detractor for this device in the OPZ, because you make your 8 tracks or whatever, and then you got to mute it and play track by track to get it into your digital audio workstation. And there's got to be a better workflow. So I'm hoping that just comes with an update, because it's like, this is like the Bugatti, compare these two things. Like, this is the Cadillac. This is like a Yugo or a Vespa, So hopefully they update this so I can just like record out the all 8 tracks and just have it in my digital audio workstation. I think if you had to sum it up, I would recommend these 2 devices for sure, or like one of those 2 devices, depending on if you're more of a keyboardist versus a sequencer style artist. The other things are fun and cool. Personally, like pocket operators, they really, in my opinion, limit things you can do. The sounds just sound like they're from a pocket operator eventually, even though you can make some cool drum patterns and whatever. They all kind of sound the same, my opinion. Again, I probably just don't know what I'm doing. So thanks for watching, following along. I don't know that I need to do any more gear reviews, because this is like enough, right? This is kind of everything. But this is targeted again specifically towards those kind of part-time creators that are looking for a niche or looking to where they can jump in, or where should you enter the market with teenage engineering. Hopefully this video helps somebody out there while you're here on my channel. Mostly I do ambient music and focusing on music that help people relax and de-stress, treats anxiety and PTSD. Again, I'm a physician by training. This isn't medical advice or anything like that, but I am really tuned in to sound and how the things you listen to can affect our lives, can affect our health. And I thought, if I can make some music that really helps people relax, that treats anxiety, PTSD, helps you sleep at night, helps you relax, do some mindfulness, have it out on Spotify, have it on YouTube. I'll try to do some work with the visuals as well. Just a passion project that I've had for years, really. And 2024 was my year to actually off the ground. So appreciate you stopping by and watching the video. Once I get up to 50 subscribers on YouTube, that I can do some live streams, that I can do some live sessions with my some of my other synthesizers. I have a couple of pieces from Moog and, of course, my Ord keyboard. I also have an Omnichord that I'm still figuring out. So thanks for rocking with me, and tune in next time.